Man, let me first say it's an incredible honor to stand before you today. It really is. Those of you that know a lot about my story, you know what that means, and the rest of you know shortly. But before I go too far, I want to get first things first. I was having lunch earlier with Billy Beck, and we were talking about the presentation, and he said, so tell me your opening statement. Blank. It's like, a little nerve-wracking. I had no idea. So I want to get the first things out, and that's thank you. You know, to Sean, to Clint, who's not here, to the MPE community. You know, it's a miracle that I'm here, and it means the world to me, so thank you. If I don't forget nothing else, I'm going to make sure I get that right. So, miracles. Has anybody in here ever been in a position in their business, in their life, where they felt like the world was against them? Have you faced adversity? Felt like you needed a miracle? Did you raise your hand? Is that you? Good. I'm in the right room. Good to go. So, let's talk about that. What is a miracle? An unusual or wonderful event believed to be caused by God. I got a little bit of a story to tell that many would call, I do call, a miracle. So now I'm going to back up a little bit to kind of give you some backstory. Real quickly, when I didn't have the most wonderful childhood like Tony. Didn't know his story that far back until just now. It's amazing. And so it was unique. My biological father, I don't have any memories of him really, except him physically beating my mother and twice in front of me trying to murder her, once with a shotgun, once with a pistol. And that was tough, you know, a lot for a kid to deal with. Had a baby sister as well, a few years younger. And then I had life progress, and my dad came into my life. My name is Brad Bearden. The last name that I carry is not my biological father's, but the father who adopted me. His name was Stephen Bearden. Great man, phenomenal man. Took me and my sister as his own, just poured out his life and had a servant's heart, a true servant's heart, and really taught me a lot about manhood. And you'll see a picture of our family right there. That's, me in the white shirt, buck teeth and all. That's me. And that's my dad and the rest of my family, my stepbrother and my mother and my sister. And we had a great life, and it was amazing. I learned a lot. And unfortunately, but when I was 12 years old, I'd scored my father every October 15th, so coming up his anniversary, he would go on a hunting trip with my uncle. And they would be gone for a week. It was just an annual thing they always did. So he took off for this hunting trip, and it just so happened on the second day that he was gone, I scored my first touchdown in football. And as a surprise, the next day, he'd never done this since I've known him, he decided to come back. And we didn't have cell phones at the time, so he couldn't call and let us know. He just, we had pay phones, and he had found out the night before, speaking to my mother, and that day, the next day, decided to come back and surprise me, congratulate me. Unfortunately, he didn't make it back. On his way back, he was in a bad car accident, and he passed away. And that was tough, you know, really tough to deal with, much like what Tony had to deal with. It's tough. So you take that in stride, and my mother had a lot that she had to deal with in that situation as well, and so, you know, I didn't handle it very well. I'm going to be honest, I tried, but I didn't. And one thing led to another. By the time I graduated high school, I was an alcoholic. I wasn't a good person. If you would have saw me, you would have thought I was. If you look back, I'm from Chelsea, Alabama, actually outside of Birmingham, and I was voted Mr. Chelsea my senior year. I was MVP of the football team. You know, I was a good old country boy who knew how to make people like me, or at least could put on a show for a good period of time. Then it all started catching up. Was pretty good in sports and had some scholarship opportunities, but just because of my problem with alcohol and things that came with it, I lost every scholarship opportunity and eventually went into the Marine Corps. And you would have thought at the time it was because I was noble and I was a good guy and I wanted, you know, to serve my country. It wasn't. That was because I just didn't want to acknowledge the fact, I didn't want people to know that I lost all the scholarship opportunities that I had. So I went in the Marine Corps, came into the reserves, and at that point you couldn't tell me nothing because I'm 18 years old. I'm a man. I'm a grown man. I'm a United States Marine. Nobody could tell me anything, right? That's what I thought. And so my alcoholism got worse, a lot worse. And it led one thing to another. And to expedite the story, one night, there's a lot of party going on. I want to keep it going. I'm running out of beer, so I run to the store. Don't have no money, so I come up with this great big plan. I'm gonna rob them. Not a good plan, but it really wasn't a good plan. So I go in. I have a fishing knife that was in my pocket, and I write a note. And so I robbed it. It was a Food World. I robbed it for 2 cases of Bud Light and $200. Unfortunate part is I was wasted. One of the many unfortunate parts. I was wasted when I decided to do this. So when I left the keys to my getaway car on the cash register. So I run out to the parking lot. Oh, it gets better. Hold on. So I decided to do this also in the exact same parking lot where there's just a police station. Was not meant to be a criminal. So, nonetheless, I'm arrested for armed robbery. Spent 6 months in jail. Family has nothing to do with me. The community that I was from, that thought I was, just a good old country boy who maybe drank a little bit every now and then. I was blackballed. I became very lonely. So it gets better. After about 6 months, my mother finally bonds me out. And you would think I would have my head on straight, but I tell you, loneliness is it's a dangerous thing. And I get up with some guys that I actually met in jail and go down to the beach to celebrate. Meet up with them, end up getting in a fight with a couple of guys. And after the fight's over, took their wallets. 2 days later, get arrested with their credit cards, charged with robbery again. So, next 4.5 years of my life, I served in prison. 3 of which in maximum security. 2 violent charges in 2 different states. 3 different charges in 2 different states. I had a choice to make very, very quickly. I'm a 20-year-old white boy walking into a penitentiary in a state where he knows no one. Got 2 choices: become a boy and become a man. Now, everyone has their preference, but I just wasn't becoming a homosexual. It just wasn't going to happen. So, it's at a real stage in my life where I had to grow up, and I had to grow up fast. And it was a very, very real part of growth in my life where every word that I spoke, every movement that I made, everything laid my life on the line. And I'm not proud of it, but at that time I became a very, very violent person. I did what I felt I needed to do to survive. My family had no contact with me. And you want to talk about lonely. Pick up the phone on Christmas. Call home just to hear from somebody one time and hear them answer. Well, you set the click call. Click. And it was rightfully so. I was a bad person. And so I just got more violent. But I learned a very, very, very good lesson through that. And that was what a true man is. Whether he's a good man or a bad man, what manhood is about is knowing what you stand for, why you stand for it, and refusing to cross the line, no matter what. And I can tell you, I became a man very quickly, and I gained a lot of respect. Not in the best way, but I learned about myself. I grew and I developed. About 3 years into this ordeal, I gave my life to God. And that was when a lot of things changed for me. It was a very, very unique moment. And the prayer isn't one that you would hear in church, but it was real and it was authentic. And I started to develop as a person. So I can only tell you what loneliness did to me. I'll never expect that you'll ever understand it. I wouldn't want you to, but it puts a lot of things in life in perspective. And one thing that I knew that I did not want to become, or I was not going to succumb to what everyone thought I would be. I would not be a statistic. I would not spend the rest of my life in prison. I would not be a criminal. I would not be a failure. I would not be brought to the point where all I could do is hope to get a job at Walmart. Actually, I don't even think that would be possible. I refused to accept what other people told me I could and cannot do. Every day you're told by the guards, you're a piece of shit, you're nothing, you're never going to be anything. And you can't say anything back because you're going to get the heck beat out of you. But I refused to accept the identity that other people put on me. I refused to accept that. No. And so I had a made-up mind. I was going to become something. I was going to become a personal trainer. During that time, I studied like nobody's business. I'd get books from the library. I had no formal education, high school education, that's it. And I studied hard. I would sit there and just read and read and read, and I'd go out to the weight pile in the yard, and I would try what I thought, what I read. Trial and error. And year after year, I just got hungry and hungry, and I learned and I learned. And then finally, I get released. Miraculously, that's a story in itself. I got released a little bit earlier than I was supposed to, and that is a miracle I thank God for every day. And I get this opportunity. I go in, submit applications everywhere, and I'm not going to lie. If anybody asks if I'm a convicted felon, yes. Scared to death of it, but I'm going to tell the truth. And so I've applied a few places, don't get a response. Finally, this one place comes in, brings me in for an interview, and they give me a new hire packet. They say they're going to hire me. Great, awesome. I find this packet's about that thick. I just know the question's going to be on there. It's going to be over. Nowhere in that packet. To this day, I have no idea why. Did not ask the question, period. Did not have to answer it. Thank you, Jesus. So I give them opportunity. They hire me on as a 1099 trainer. They say, come in, and gave me hours to come in, and hopefully you can pick up clients off the floor. Within 3 months, to expedite this entire story, within 3 months, the owners of the consulting firm who actually managed this gym, which is a large gym, it's like a Gold's, a 30,000 square foot gym. The owners of the consulting firm who managed it came in from Atlanta, and they fired the fitness director, gave me his position, gave me his salary, put me in control of the gym. Within 3 months after that, I was promoted to regional fitness director and had 4 gyms of that size underneath me and was managing that in a team and people that were much, much, much smarter than me. A lot of that absolutely is the power of God. He blessed me, and I was making an incredible amount of money. I was enjoying life, and it was good. 6 months out of prison, who would have thought, right? It doesn't even make sense. It's just God, and I'm loving it. I'm soaking it up. But the thing in the back of my mind keeps coming up, if I can do this for them, how much money can I make if I do it for myself? And I got this. I'm full of confidence. I got swag. I know what I'm doing. So, I make the step. I make the jump. After about a year, I say, okay, I'm going to do this. And at the time, I had gotten married. Throughout that time, I'd gotten married. And we're sitting there. I start my own business. And as many of us have experienced, things don't go as easy as I thought they were. It just wasn't kicking off. I was extremely frustrated, and I tried everything. I didn't know exactly what was going on. I thought I could just do this and clients would come. They didn't show up. I didn't know where to go get them. I tried researching marketing plans and all this stuff. That's where I initially ran into MPE, but I figured I could handle this. I'd make my own copy and I'd make my own pictures. Didn't really have a lot of money at the time for some reasons you'll find out in a second, but I'm making them. I'm walking down the streets, putting them in mailboxes. I think I got nothing. Never got a return. Nothing ever went the way I thought it would. I'm just frustrated. I'm beating my head against the wall. During the same time, the reason we were so financially strapped is I found out that my wife at the time could not get pregnant, and it was frustrating for her and for us. So we tried in vitro. In vitro, if you don't know, is very expensive. Insurance paid the first $5,000 of the first time, which is $20,000 a pop. So it left us with $15,000. It didn't work, and so we tried again. $20,000 out of pocket completely that time. That was $35,000 really quickly, and savings account gone. And now my salary, there is no salary. It's me trying to struggle and make it, and I wasn't. I was fighting, making enough just to keep my head above water, but I just couldn't get it. Just like every one of us, I've tried. I tried everything, but you don't know what you don't know until you realize that you don't know it, if that makes sense. Like I didn't know what I didn't know. But I started learning. It was just a tough time. But then, everything changed. Bam! My girls. Jade and Faith and Jordan Hope. That is my world. And I knew I would never fail them. So I started working harder. I started studying. I stayed up all night, 2, 3 days at a time, fighting to just make it work for them, just to provide a living. At the same time, my mother-in-law she'd gotten sick. She'd gotten diagnosed with cancer, and she wasn't doing too well. So we had moved her in with us, and we were taking care of her. My wife at the time, she wasn't working. She was taking care of them, and and I was fighting. I refused to give up. I was willing to do whatever it took. I fought and I studied. I studied every YouTube video that you could ever imagine. I studied every consulting firm that you could think, every free report that you could read. I did everything I could, but I just had no money. I had no money to invest. It just wasn't realistic for me, but I tried and I tried and I tried. And then finally, thank God, September 27th, 2012, I got an email. Bam! Life changed forever. Mega Training 2012 scholarship. I won. I read that email probably 4 times, 5 times. I just make sure I didn't read it incorrectly. I could not believe it was the most surreal moment in my life. I'd fought so hard for so many things. I could not believe I actually got a break. I got an amazing break. And it just, it blessed me, a full ride, because I couldn't have paid for anything. And I get the opportunity to come down here, and it blew me away. It's the most, what you're experiencing, I got to experience, and it was all on MPE, it was all on Sean. And it just, what the VIP community gave me, what Sean gave me, what Clint gave me, and Clint's not here, but man, if you ever see this, thank you. It changed my life forever. I was stoked. So if I can't give you any advice, if you're here for the first time, build relationships, meet people, get to know them. Promise you, it's worth it. It's good people here, very good people. So I come through Mega Training and I'm just jacked up. Now, it was a struggle while I was here. Most people do not know this, but when I was here, I was so determined to meet people and pick their brains and learn what could I do to make this work. I wanted to soak it all up. I got invited out to dinner a few times, and I couldn't go. I didn't want to say rude, got invited out to drinks, dinner. People did not know that literally while I was here, my account was over $100 overdrawn. Like tomorrow, when you get whenever Sean will offer the free lunch for everybody who wants to learn about the VIP program, well, please come, just check it out. I was ecstatic. I couldn't, because I got to eat. I was hungry. I was just saying. And so it meant the world to me. But nonetheless, I get home, and I just have every intention. I'm gonna apply everything that I've got. I'm gonna blow it out the water, and everything goes downhill. It doesn't work. My mother-in-law, she passes away, and it got tough. It got really tough, and there's a lot of things going on, and then the tables turned again. Like Sean said during his presentation, that if you think it's never going to stop. You got to have grit. You got to grow. You just got to be able to accomplish. And after my mother-in-law passes away, a couple weeks later, we have Christmas. Day after Christmas, I found out that my wife had made some choices that would change my life again. She had chosen to have multiple affairs, and it changed a lot of things. And so I filed for divorce, and thankfully I was able to right away, that very day, get full custody of my girls. They were 9 months old at the time. So instantaneously, I become a single dad, 9-month twins, struggling business. I move out, start my own place. The same day, she runs to the banks and cleans out every bank account that we have. I was left with $500 to try to take care of my girls. Maxed out every credit card that we had at a minimum of 180%. Credit score, within 90 days, credit score completely shot. Had an 805 credit score. It was at that in the 9 days below a 500. I was broken. Some friends reached out to help me with the first month of rent on an apartment, help me pay to get the lights on, but I had nothing. Obviously, as a full-time dad, it's not a lot of time I had to pour into a business, so what I did have was falling away. And on top of that, the gentleman that I was renting space from, he sees this. Be careful with partnerships. He had gotten very, very jealous of the situation, of the revenue he thought I was bringing in, and was looking for an opportunity to capitalize on, to try to, I guess, get more revenue from me. So when he understood this situation was going on, he saw it as an opportunity to maybe find an easy fix. He said, okay, you have 60 days to pay, in 60 days, you're either going to pay a new rent, which was almost 5 times what I was currently paying, or you need to find another place. Great. He thought I had a bunch of money. He didn't know I was completely broke. So I didn't have a choice. Even if I did, I wouldn't have done it on principle. But nonetheless, I got to figure it out. So 60 days comes up. I'm trying to be a dad, and I lose most of my clients. And they're loving people, understandable, but they're professionals. I'm left with 2 clients, and I'm training them out of my apartment complex. Not really the best thing in the world. And then a miracle happens. This is a miracle that I do not have the understanding. I cannot explain to this day. I have get a phone call, and it's from a property manager of a commercial real estate. And he asked me if I would be interested in viewing a property that used to be a fitness studio. Absolutely, I'll take a look at it. But I knew that I couldn't afford a studio, but hey, take action, people. Just act. Doesn't matter if it makes sense or not. You're never going to get anywhere sitting down, hoping and wishing. Act. Take massive action. And so I did. I went and I talked to the guy, but I made up my mind as soon as I spoke with him, or as soon as he showed me the property, I was going to tell him exactly what he did not want to hear. And I did. I told him, I was like, look, I love the property. It's awesome. Perfect location, 1,200 square feet. Used to be a fitness together. It's got all kind of equipment in it because it had been foreclosed upon. It was, it's like, great, awesome opportunity, but I don't have any money. I have absolutely no credit. I don't have a co-signer. I don't have any clients. I have nothing. But I promise you, if you can find a way to give me a chance, I'll make it work. I promise you that. I was authentic. I was transparent. It was a miracle. He managed a property, called the guy who owned it in California, said, we're going to take a chance on this guy. Gave me 3 months free rent. Gave me a stair-step my rent up there after that. So I pretty much had 9 months before I had to pay full rent. Just did everything he could, all the equipment, about $25,000 worth of equipment, $1. Here's your chance, son. Go for it. So, made it happen. Didn't have a lot of money for a renovation, so I called all my friends from a small group, a Bible study. All the guys said, hey, man, we need to make this happen. So we had an extreme gym makeover one Saturday. The property manager told me I couldn't afford any the paperwork and all the stuff that had to take place to renovate it in place. He said, look, if you'll do it after 5 o'clock on Friday and have it done before Monday morning at 8 o'clock, you can do it. So that's what we did. They showed up, and we just busted down walls, and I just had a lot of men of God who stepped up in my life. They paid for the paint. They paid for everything, and we just tore that place apart, and bam, new facility. All the equipment, I traded it in as used equipment, got some new stuff, and now we're rocking. So what do I do now? Still have no money. Well, when I was at Mega Training in 2012 at Scholarship, they gave me, as part of that scholarship, the 21-day challenge that I'm sure all y'all are familiar with. Let's rock it. I don't have no money absolutely no money for marketing, no money for anything. So what do I do? Groupon. I do not recommend Groupon. I do not recommend it. This is what I had to do. I had nothing. So I did it. I said, all right, we're going to run a Groupon, and I'm just going to do the best I can. I made an incredible offer. Basically, they came in for the Groupon. I said, look, I will double it. I needed to be able to pay the bills. I needed to at least pay the lights. I needed some type of revenue. I just needed people in the door. I said, I will double your coupon that you've already paid for, give it to you again, apply it to the first month, and then give you a month free if you'll just give me a 12-month agreement. Bam. And then the principles that MPE taught me is what I did. Under promise, over deliver. And I did. Under promise, over deliver. Under promise, over deliver. And I killed myself. I served these people as much as I could. I mean, I cannot tell you how many days and days and days I'd spend all night at the gym. And as soon as people leave, I'm either taking care of my girls or I'm laying rubber floored. And I mean, how I got rubber floors, I'd get a little money and I'd go buy some off Craigslist. I would cut it and I'd stick it on. I mean, it's just to my floor this day. That's what it is. And it looks decent, but it was all done by hand. And if you don't know, rubber flooring is heavy. It's heavy. It's a workout. And I killed myself. But worked my butt off all night long while my girls were asleep in my office in a little pallet. And then clients come in at 5:30 and bam, they never let them know. They never knew a thing. And so finally, started building revenue. I got some consistency. I got a little bit under my belt. And 4 months later, I finally invested in EA. Thank God, I finally got the opportunity. Now, understand, when I made this investment, It took everything I had. It's not like I had a whole bunch of revenue. It was the rent money I had for home. It was more than rent money I had for home. Actually, it was everything. But I just knew I had to take a risk. I had to. Zig Ziglar said it best. The most successful people in the world are the ones who are willing to risk it all at one great big turn of the wheel. And that's a lot when you got two beautiful girls who are looking for you for everything. So I gave it my all. And we made it work. Is this clicking? Bam. I did really good. We increased our revenue. When we jumped to EA, our revenue was jumped all the way to about $16,000 a month. We're doing a great job, building clientele, working my butt off, started building the staff, did a phenomenal job, and just started learning a lot. Got some stability, just started being able to actually live a life and sleep 1 or 2 hours a night. Sometimes you got to bite the bullet and you got to do what you got to do and you got to go without sleep, but it's nice when you can lay down and you can put your girls to sleep at night and then go to bed after them. It was a good feeling. I was able to do that for a little bit, and then it got to what Sean mentioned earlier. Via the spring training. Went down to spring training, took my assistant with me, we had a great time, and it's just phenomenal. But I knew VIP was going to take the same thing, everything I had again. And I started learning a lesson here. Sean talked to me. We spoke at a lunch or a breakfast. I don't remember. And he asked me, he's like, well, you need to be VIP. I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it in October. I was going to do it now. I was going to do it then. And he spoke to me, and whatever he said, I couldn't even tell you what he said, but it just hit me that, you know what? A dog fights best when he's backed into a corner. You know what? You want to see me fight ferociously? Back me into a corner. I got 4.5 years. I can prove to you I can fight. And so, you're right, Sean. Bam, let's go. Came home, blew it out through. We only had 2 weeks left in the month. That we did $52,745 in 2 weeks. Blew it up. And we continued to grow. It was amazing. We just, and by the way, 32 of that was paid in full. And that was on top of everything we had coming in from our auto deposits each month. And business just took off. Business has been blowing up. So what does that equate to? And I'm sorry I'm over time, but it's changed my life. You know, we go from 2012, did 31,000, round or about, struggling. 2013, finally invested at EA, did 63,000. This year, I've brought in about 261,000, easily project 330. 2015, we're going to do it at a bare minimum, 550,000 is an easy projection. We'll blow right past that. My life's changed. I've got an amazing staff, and I get to be a daddy. You know, they deserve that. I get to travel. I get to do a lot of things. The gym has actually got people in it. Took my team to California, Balanced Habits, just get to enjoy life, and it's a blessing. So thank you, Sean, for that. Real quickly, I'll show you what I've learned through the process. I've learned 5 things that I guarantee that every one of you can take away. You take away from my story, what I've lived through, what I've put myself through, what I've overcame. The miracles that have taken place have come largely in part, number 1, from God, but then followed by that, these 5 points. Number 1, be authentic, be who you are. And especially be authentic with yourself. That moment, when I changed, the moment I gave my life to God, the moment that everything changed about my life is the moment that I got real with myself. Those first 3 years in prison, you would have thought I would have got it. But what I did is, when everything changed, when I finally, I looked into the mirror and I admitted to myself I was a piece of shit. Because I told myself, you're a good guy. You just had a bad life. Refuse to be a victim. Do not victimize your circumstance. You are doing nothing but handcuffing yourself in refusing you're not allowing yourself to grow. You're refusing yourself the opportunity to live the life you were intended to. And that's what I did for so long. But when I was finally authentic, not only with everyone else, but with myself, that I was responsible, my actions responsible, my thoughts, everything that I did, that's the reason that I was where I was. No one else was to blame. When I was finally authentic with myself is when I was empowered to finally change. Secondly, follow it up, believe in yourself. Believe in yourself more than most would think is wise. If I would have told you this 4 years ago, 5 years ago, when I was still sitting in a prison cell, you would have thought I was crazy. Most people would. If you're sane, you probably thought I was. Believe in yourself more than most think is to be wise. I promise you. No one wants you to succeed as much as you will. You have to believe in yourself, and you cannot expect other people to believe in you any more than you believe in yourself. You've got to give yourself a chance. The greatest fear, or the greatest struggle, the greatest danger, is not that you aim too high and miss your mark. It's that you allow yourself to aim too low and achieve it. You've got to believe in yourself. Shoot for the stars. Number 3, be courageous. Do not accept your circumstances for what they are. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. You have to be courageous. You have to be willing to put yourself out there. You have to be willing to take risks. You have to be willing to risk it all. You have to be. If you want to be successful, you have to take a chance. And you have to take another chance and a bigger chance. It's not going to make sense to most people, and that's why most people are not successful. You have to put yourself out there. You have to be courageous. You have to be tenacious. And people will follow you once you are. Remember this. If you're taking notes, write this down. If you're not taking notes, write this down. It's an army of sheep led by a lion will defeat an army of lions led by sheep every time. Be a lion. Be courageous. Number 4, pay for speed and expertise. The reason I am where I am is because I've paid a lot. As soon as I brought in revenue, I invested right back. Obviously, MPE. Every system that Sean talked about, just about, I've invested in. All the MPE programs, Infusionsoft, 6th Division. 6th Division, make the investment. I promise you, it changed my life. Yeah, go all the way. I went for the biggest one they have, and it's an investment. It changed my business. Your business is not going to grow like this unless you're willing to make sacrifices. Invest. Don't try to become the best of everything. It's going to take too long. Could you do it? Yes. Should you do it? No. Just pay the people who've spent 20 years to do so. Pay them, and you'll grow. Worked for me. One thing to piggyback off that. Successful people pay to save time. Unsuccessful people spend time, or excuse me, how does it go? Hold on, I messed up. Successful people spend money to save time. Unsuccessful people spend time to save money. What do you want to be? Invest in yourself. Invest in your success. Number 5, lastly, give back. I can't explain this one. We could go into the theories of it all. I promise you, over the past 2 years of my life, I've given more than I've ever given in my life. And I've been given more than I've ever been given in my life. Just give. Give without expecting anything in return. I promise you, it will change your life. And so, I'll close with this. Refuse to be a victim. Refuse to accept your circumstances as an excuse not to achieve your goals. Refuse. Circumstances will always change. People will always change. Whether you choose to accept them is up to you. It's your choice. It's your life. Choose wisely. If I can make the decisions I've made, if I can withstand the things, I know that you can. Do not give up on yourself. Do not accept the definition that someone else has put on you. Do not accept your circumstances as truth. Refuse to accept mediocrity. Refuse to accept the label that someone else has given you. Refuse to accept any limit that someone else has put on your life. And take what you want by force. Go after your dreams. Do never give up on yourself. Fight for what you want and refuse to accept failure. The choice is yours. Choose wisely. Thank you.